Welcome back to Stinging Back. This is M. Tonight I have D with us and A with a special presentation.
Today's episode focuses on something we've pointed out before, but this time we're backing it up with proof. Again and again, we see that it's far more common to find real accusers, real victims, and documented allegations among those claiming to protect children than it is to find any real actual victims among the men swept up in the online sting operations, where no real person ever comes forward to say they were harmed.
In this episode, we're going to read a long list of names. These are people who were publicly positioned as protectors of children, law enforcement officers, members of child exploitation units, and self-described predator hunters.
They were trusted. They were praised. Some built careers, reputations, and platforms on the claim that they were fighting sexual exploitation and abuse.
And then many of them were accused. Some were investigated, some were arrested, many were convicted.
Most of the offenses that we're going to talk about that some of these people committed, those offenses they were charged with involved sexual abuse or exploitation of children.
This episode is not about guilt by association. It's not implying that everyone in these roles are corrupt. It's not about minimizing real harm to real victims.
It is about confronting an uncomfortable reality that power, access, and moral authority, when left unchecked, can be abused, sometimes by the very people claiming to stand between children and harm.
We're going to name the names. We're going to state what they were accused of or convicted of, and we're going to let the facts speak for themselves.
Because transparency matters, patterns matter, and silence protects the wrong people.
Well, this is Stinging Back.
And so we are going to start with a long list that we have put together. The list has right now 51 different examples of these people who were supposed to be child protectors, and it turned out that they were actually doing the opposite, not protecting children. And so we're going to go down the list. I'm not sure if we're going to read all 51 examples, but I'm sure there are still many more that we don't know about yet, or that we don't know about. So I'm going to start with the first one. This is not anybody that's been accused directly of committing a sexual crime against children. This is regarding Canadian County in Oklahoma City. The sheriff's office there has been conducting these internet crimes against children sting operations. They have teamed up with SOSA, Rue Powell, that's a vigilante group. What do we know about them? Do you guys remember them?
Yeah, Ruth Powell's about as old enough to be my grandmama.
Yes.
And I think she was doing it under the ruse of she was putting on some type of lotion on her face to look like she's underage or something. I don't understand what's the thought process behind that.
It's like she puts on pigtails and thinks she's going to look like a 14-year-old when she's a woman over 40 years old.
I think we've interviewed some of her victims, and they all kind of consistently say the same thing of we thought this was somebody engaging in some type of role play kink because she genuinely looks like she could be somebody's grandmother.
Right. And we've seen the ads that she's put out to lure the men and entice and groom them with sex. And then she pretends like these men were targeting children online, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that she's been working with the sheriff's office in Canadian County, Oklahoma. And this sheriff's office has a reputation. They've been accused of protecting real predators who work in their department.
Did you say Canada?
It's Canadian County in Oklahoma. the
That's right.
sheriff's office there. And I believe the sheriff there, I believe his name is Christopher West. I don't remember for sure. I'd have to look it up, but I think it's Chris West. And he's been sheriff there since 2017. And there have been some of the people that work under him have been accused of sexual offenses, some against children. And they have a pattern of covering that up. They do nothing about it. Or they just, you know, quietly maybe move them, or I don't know if they get fired, but I know they're not getting prosecuted. And this includes sexual crimes against adults and some against children. There was a story about somebody who was, I think, let me see, let me read this. Top police investigator accused of siding with child sex predator again. Police detective who failed to stop a girls basketball coach child predator for years now has allegedly defended a boys basketball coach charged with secretly filming players in the locker room and sharing screenshots, according to a Tulsa World and Lee Enterprises public service journalism team investigation. And this was Captain Phil Blevins, commander of the Canadian County Sheriff's Office Investigations Division in Oklahoma. So this was not the first time that this captain is protecting somebody who has, you know, done something real, something committed an actual real sexual offense. And this is against minors. And then there was this, and then they've also been accused of there's sexual allegations against female inmates. There's police major sex abuse of boys. Of boys and men was common knowledge. There were multiple victims alleged, and this is a separate allegation. No one was ever charged criminally, and this was an Oklahoma County Sheriff's major. He resigned after the daughter of another of his alleged victims went public with the sexual abuse accusations about her father's death. And then there were three stories they put out about this. It was a cop raped a female inmate, then handed her a stack of napkins. And it's basically saying that this is a pattern. There were 4 former Canadian County Sheriff's deputies or detention officers that have been charged in criminal court or have been named in civil court cases on allegations of sexual misconduct since Chris West was elected sheriff of the county, located about 34 miles west of Oklahoma City. And this was in 2016. He took office. Oh, I'm not sure why it says 2016. Anyway, he's been sheriff since 2017, and he's accused by several former deputies interviewed by the Lee Enterprise. West is accused by several former deputies interviewed by Lee Enterprises of presiding over a good old boys network where sexual misconduct allegations have been ignored or swept under the rug, generating unease or fear among employees and inmates. And so this is a sheriff's office who has been, taking in ICAC federal funding money and working with SOSA, Rue Powell, supposedly to protect children from online predators. And, they're not protecting real victims while they are creating fake cases of it. And we're going to move on to the next one. Who wants to do the next one?
Well, this is Dee's favorite Florida sheriff.
Oh, God. Is this Shady Grady?
Yes, I don't think he has it in front of him. Do you want to read it?
All right. So, number 2, it explains Florida Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, longtime friend of Chris Hansen, has worked with Chris Hansen to conduct online sting operations to supposedly protect children from online predators. He is in the Epstein files. Shady Grady. He's accused of doing Epstein activities with children from his church. Also getting sued for silencing and publishing a child victim of this type of abuse for reporting the abuse. And you can find this online. You can search for Grady Judd on the DOJ's website, and you can read this. We're not making this up. You can find these accusations in the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm. And he's actually had quite a few allegations over the years. He's got, I believe, two, could be one from the church he goes to. We do see that pretty common when it comes to pastors or people placed in leadership positions that take advantage of that. Also, he had a situation where he made a SA victim. I can't make this up. He made the SA victim write an apology letter to the alleged attacker.
I
Right.
remember reading about that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what the lawsuit is about, right? She's an
Mm,
adult now, and she's gone back and sued him because at the time she reported the abuse. He silenced her and made her write a letter apologizing to her abuser for supposedly making it up. And then the stepfather who was abusing her continued to abuse her.
yeah. That goes outside the color of law. He had zero business doing that. His job is to find probable cause and go forward with it. There would actually be enough probable cause to charge him in that statutory rape case that he gathered from the church. But because he is who he is, the district attorney will likely not find the courage to, pick up a grand jury, find witnesses, and run that to grand jury and see if they can get a indictment. That's somebody whose days is numbered. I mean, that's somebody who's going to piss somebody off one day who works for them, and they're going to let out to the media, or they're going to go to the DA. The DA don't want to listen to it. They have to go to the attorney general. But I do believe his days as sheriffs down there are pretty numbered. He's just he projects entirely too much, and those press conferences he give off are a very clear violation of the Fifth, the Sixth, and the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder what Chris Hansen thinks about, Shady Grady being in the Epstein files with,
Mm-hmm.
people accusing him or someone accusing him of doing these things to them as children. And Chris Hansen's supposed to be one of these child protectors, right? Yet he's been working with Shady Grady for years. And then the
Mm-hmm.
whole lawsuit as well, right? And there have been tons of other allegations against this man, not necessarily about sexual abuse, but just about how he's just not a good human being.
Well, it makes me wonder why, Norm shared with us a interview that Chris Hansen was doing with one of the Epstein survivors, young woman from South Africa. And during that interview, she's devastated. You can see she's traumatized still, but you can't help but think Chris Hansen is just looking for clicks. He's getting those numbers up so he can make more money and look like the big guy.
For sure.
To be a good, really be the big guy, he should throw Shady Grady Judd under the bus. And how about interview this woman that's suing him about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's not about truth. He's just about, the image and creating the illusion of he's protecting children. But when it comes down to the real stuff, I mean, what is he really doing about it? He's creating fake cases is what he's doing instead of
Every Go ahead.
instead of focusing on true victims.
Every expert witness I ever spoke to that knew about Chris Hansen and his cases, they have never said anything good about him.
Yeah.
They basically describe him as somebody would describe a used car salesman, just kind of a con artist.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
I've
he
read.
knows how to sell it. He knows how to get those numbers and sell things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And someone online said you should ask his ex-wife about him. I said, "Oh, yeah, that would be that would be someone good to ask about him." Okay, let's move on to the next one. Number 3, we have Alex Rosen with Predator Poachers. Now, again, so far, these are people who have allegations against them. These guys have not, been charged or been convicted with any sexual exploitation of, children or adults. But Alex Rosen has himself admitted that he ordered his 16-year-old boy cousin to remove his pants in front of a camera for a man online. And, he was trying to make it seem like, oh, that's what you have to do to catch predators online. But he was the one that was sexualizing this minor. If instead of protecting him and saying, no, don't do that, like, let's do it, I don't know, a proper way or something. But if you're ordering a minor to remove his pants for an adult man online, that's not catching child predators. That's just sexually
You
exploiting
are the
him.
child predator.
Exactly. You are the one sexually exploiting the minor.
Now, we
And
do have, in fact, Dee is the one that supplied the short to us, but we do have a short of Alex Rosen doing this. So if you look through our videos, find the short.
I think actually on the shore, I don't know if it's the same minor or a different one, but he's asking somebody to remove his shirt. It's like he's asking because apparently he was using real minors in his sting operations. I don't know if
He
he still
was.
does.
It's wild.
Yeah, and he was asking them to pose for like sexy pictures and stick your tongue out and remove your shirt and things like that. So his behavior, I mean, those are the behaviors of real predators who groom children.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty disturbing. But anyway, if you look it up online, it says that he's admitted to doing this and he admits that it was wrong. But just because he admitted it doesn't mean he's not doing it anymore or hasn't done it to others.
All right, wow. So, yeah, number 4, Tim Ballard, founder of Operation Underground Railroad. And the movie, The Sound of Freedom, is based on Mr. Ballard's experiences in life. Now, he's been accused of many women in Utah. A lot of them were working for him with OUR. These articles and what's her name? What's that Timmy? Um,
Timmy did what?
yeah, Timmy did what? Like to yes, do a search for her. Her name slips my mind. I can't think of her
Kara.
name.
Kara Burrell.
Yeah, Kara Burrell has got some great episodes about Tim Ballard on this subject.
Yes, it's Kara Burrell and oh, it just slipped my mind. What is his name? She's got co-host
Her,
that does
her
Ryan.
co-host, yeah,
Ryan
that
Fisher.
also worked with Tim Ballard in the start of the yeah OUR.
Yes, Ryan Fisher and Kara Burrell. That's a good podcast. We encourage you to find that and listen to that. They have a lot of information about this. Now, Tim Ballard has not that I know of, there's no allegations that he has done any of this stuff to minors. Doesn't mean
Now
he hasn't.
there was some speculation in recently because of his adoptions and some other activities that they've been investigating him on.
Right. I know there were
And
allegations about him
yeah,
moving minors from one orphanage to another where there are allegations that those minors were being sexually abused at the orphanage he moved them to supposedly protect them. And some of them were forced to have abortions. There are allegations of that. I have not yet heard any allegations of him directly sexually abusing minors. I mean, there's
or trafficking them on purpose, but
other
no,
than through the orphanage. And
yeah,
I have heard allegations that he was basically, yeah, selling them to Mormons, like orphans from Haiti, convincing families to give up their children for them to come to America and be adopted out to Mormon families. And he was making money off of that. So in a way, that's like trafficking children, isn't it? I mean, it wasn't
a
for
lot would say
sexual
it. Yeah.
abuse. It wasn't for sexual abuse that we know of, but it was selling children. because he was making money off of that.
Yeah.
And again, those are allegations.
And there is documentation on all of this. You can Google Tim Ballard, and we don't make this stuff up.
Yes, this is all stuff we have researched and gotten from other reports. Number 5 on the list is there was an FBI agent that faced charges in Franklin County. This was in Florida, accused of child sex crime. And this was an FBI agent who investigated crimes against children. He was a supervisory special agent, David Harris, and he was accused of exposing himself in a lewd and how do you say that? Lascivious? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't want to try.
Okay, let me repeat. Sorry. And he was accused of exposing himself in a lewd manner to a 14-year-old while he was on vacation at St. George Island in July of 2019. So again, somebody else who was supposed to be a child protector was actually committing a sexual offense against a minor. And again, his name was Special Agent David Harris, and that was in Franklin County, Florida. Anybody who wants to look that up can look that up.
So number 6, it's very tawdry heroes. Disturbing truth about Britain's growing army of self-appointed pedophile hunters who snare abusers. And there is a Daily Mail news article out of the UK that you can click on for that.
Yes, and basically this article, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was a female who had worked with this vigilante group, supposedly catching online child predators, and she's pretty much exposing their tactics and showing that these are not people who are truly trying to protect children, and basically they're entrapping men, and what they're doing is just wrong and unethical, and she talks about that. So that's an article you guys can look up if you want to look that up. And number 7, there's another one. I believe this one's also out of the UK. The title of the article is Man Who Called Himself a Pedophile Hunter Was Actually a Pedophile Himself. So this was a former pedophile hunter. He was branded as sickening after it turned out that he had a stash of sick images involving sex with small children. So again, he was pretending to, be catching pedophiles online. And then it was discovered that he had images involving sex with small children. So that tells us that he was the pedophile himself.
Yeah, it looks like the news is Liverpool Echo.
Yeah, so I didn't put down his name on here, but the article might have that. So anybody who wants to look that up, the article again is Man Who Called Himself a Pedophile Hunter Was Actually a Pedophile Himself. And that's a case out of the UK.
So this number 8 is titled Pedophile Hunter Jailed After Another Group Unmasked Him as Child Sex Predator. A vigilante once spared jail over his role in confronting a suspected pedophile has been locked up himself after being exposed as a child sex predator by a similar group. So, and this is metro.co.uk. It's from 2020. What more do you know about that, eh?
So it sounds like he had been in trouble with the law before over confronting somebody he had lured online, calling him a pedophile. And, we know that it's common that these guys get aggressive. So he might have gotten aggressive and violent. And he was spared jail over that. So they didn't prosecute him for that. But then later he was caught in one of these and accused of being a sex predator. If you just look up the article, Pedophile Hunter Jailed After Another Group Unmasked Him, as child sex predator, then you should be able to find that article, and that'll I'm sure it names his name in there. I didn't put his name on
Yeah,
here.
maybe we can put some of the links in the description.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll put some of the links in there. Number 9 is former Florida Department of Law Enforcement Supervisor Charles McMullen. That is McMullen, guilty of 9 child sex offenses surrounding his time as a foster parent and a child sex crime investigator. That one's out of Florida.
Yeah, I hope our listeners understand just how common this is.
Yeah, that's why I put together this list, because it clearly shows a pattern of that.
Yeah.
Okay, this one we've talked about before, number 10. This is Riley Carter. This is in Washington State. Aberdeen police arrested Aberdeen City Council member. So Riley Carter was a city council member. He was publicly seen visibly wearing a hat with the slogan, "Make pedophiles afraid again," which was widely noted and discussed in the news coverage of his case.
Yeah,
And
this guy was all over town. There were videos on his social media of him bragging about putting away all the sick pedophiles while he's driving through town, and his stepdaughter's in the backseat of the truck. Well, turns out that stepdaughter was his victim. And I believe it was her mother that the stepdaughter finally went to. But there's lots of articles, lots of news available that you can find about this man.
do you remember how old the stepdaughter was?
I think 11 jumps in my head.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, 11. And then he confessed to the police. You can find his interrogation videos, I believe, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you remember hearing about that one, D?
I do. I believe he was part of the Rico episode.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, he was part of the Rico episode. Basically, we showed him in that episode as the face of the people they
Mm-hmm.
really are. It's a House of Mirrors ordeal where, it's a degree of projection. It's like, why would you go through the financial want of having a hat like that just to be that way? Well, it's because you are that way.
Right. And he was doing exactly like what Tim Ballard and so many others like them do, right? They, are calling out other people, calling other people pedophiles, and saying there should be accountability for pedophiles. And then when you go against them or point out that they did something wrong, they'll accuse you of being a pedophile or a pedophile protector, which is interesting because of what we're seeing happening in our country right now. Right. That our leader was supposed to expose the elite, rich, powerful people who were supposedly pedophiles. And when it came down to it, backed out. And now it's coming out that he's been in the files all along, and, you know, mentioned many, many times. So I don't know. It makes you think maybe these people are so arrogant that they thought, they're so used to getting away with this that he thought, he could just continue to cover it up. But then
Oh, yeah.
eventually karma catches up, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a distraction. The projections, hey, look at this. Look at what I'm going to do. Look at that sicko over there. Look at that sicko over there, but don't look at me.
Exactly. And I think that's what these sting operations were created for, to distract from what they've been doing. And, it's a part of their cover up. Look at these sickos over here, like you said, and I'm the good guy that's protecting your children from those sickos.
Yeah, don't look into my past. Don't look behind the curtains behind me. But look at those sickos over there.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, The problem is that the pattern clearly shows that a lot of those, there are many in the group of those that have, supposedly been protecting children who have real accusers, and some of them have been convicted. And
Yeah.
while on the other side, the other group of the men entrapped in these sting operations, it's rare to find any that have any actual accusers of, anybody that's come forward and said, oh, yes, he did that to me. No children, no adults, nobody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those men were about looking for consensual partners in the right places for that. So it makes
Yeah, that's
sense.
exactly it. Yeah, reiterate that. We do this because we know so many that have been accused and charged because exculpatory evidence is left out, because the cases are manufactured, but they have no history, no accusations, no, they never showed any intention of looking for a minor because they were on adult dating sites. But yet here we have all these, you know, Shady Grady stands up at the podium all the time showing you pictures of all these people who he has caught in these sting arrests where there is no victim. And then he's listed in the Epstein files,
Yeah.
have been
And
investigated by the FBI himself
yeah.
because
And
of some accusations.
yeah. And he's getting sued for silencing and punishing a child victim who reported sexual abuse. Right.
Yeah, the
So,
Aberdeen guy that would drive around town in his big jacked up truck talking about how he's going to put all the sick pedophiles away, wearing a hat,
mhm.
describing what he's going to do, and ends up that he had been molesting his stepdaughter the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I seriously question the DOJ right now, because not only do we have the issues with the Jeffrey Epstein files not being as transparent as we would like, the district attorney for the federal government, Pam Bondi, she had a hearing, and it was probably one of the most deflective interviews I have ever seen, to where
Yes.
they're asking her, hey, why aren't you doing your job? Well, why are we even talking about my job? The Dow is up, what, 50,000 points?
Well, she's at $50,000. Fifty
I
thousand
know.
dollars.
We're
50,000.
doing our job. We want you to do yours. That's why we're here.
And she would not even turn around and acknowledge the victims, which shows
No.
that it's all talk. She sat there and said, they cared about the victims and that anybody could come forward and report and this and that. Yet those victims had been trying and they were ignored. Their calls were not returned. She wouldn't even turn around and acknowledge them and apologize to them for what they've been through. For the DOJ not redacting their names and on those files and putting them in further harm's way because now they're being attacked because
Yeah.
there's people calling them liars because how dare you accuse whoever we worship and things like that. Or maybe those people themselves that are involved are the ones doing that, because we know that's how these people function. When their victims start speaking out, they use intimidation tactics to try to silence them.
Yeah, it's wild, because in the very email that their attorney sent Pam Bondi to make sure these names were redacted from the emails, they redacted the lawyer's name out of the email. I think they redacted one other victim
Mm-hmm.
email
They
at
redacted
all.
they
So
redacted many names that were not names of victims, while they left a lot of the victims' names in there. So it
yeah, no, they left the co-conspirators.
seems very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these people, they know what they're doing. And like I've said before, the men that are entrapped in these sting operations, they don't even have the behaviors of real predators, whereas those who conduct these sting operations do actually have those behaviors of real predators. They're the ones who do the luring, the enticing, the grooming, the coercing, all of it. And they do this while they're supposed to be playing the role of a minor. It's insane. Even if that were to be a real minor, that's still a dangerous person, regardless of their age, because that's not the normal behavior of any normal adult, even those in a situation where they are seeking a casual sexual encounter. Unless you are role playing, that's not normal to be so aggressive about it and demand, you need to play into my narrative and you need to tell me what I want, you know, um, before I agree to meet you. Those are signs that that's going to be a dangerous person, regardless of their age, because it could be a real minor who's trying to set up the man so that they can then assault him, to rob him, or just to physically assault him just because they're violent people. That makes them a danger, regardless of their age. And I guess, lawyers don't know enough about psychology to be able to pick up on that. When you read these conversations, you can see that these people are very aggressive. It's scary. Okay, let's move on to, I don't think we're going to get through the whole list, but number 11, there's Peter Wrighton. This was a British child protection expert and academic who lectured on child care and worked in child welfare before being convicted in 1992 of importing child sexual abuse material, and later investigated for broader related abuse and links to pedophile networks. Again, like we've said many times, another one hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. So I skipped through a little bit. I'm at number 30. David
Okay.
Stansbury. Here in the U.S., a police officer in Colorado who specialized in internet crimes against children. He was a task force officer with ICAC. The crimes: in 2015, he was arrested and later pled guilty to possession of child pornography. Investigators found that he had downloaded images of CSA onto his personal computer, using his expertise to try to cover his tracks.
So this was someone directly working with internet crimes against children. They received federal funds to protect children from online predators. Turned out that he was guilty himself of one of these sexual crimes.
And 31, it's the same kind of scenario. James Kolbaski, USA, police detective in New York and a member of the FBI Child Exploitation Task Force. His job was to investigate online predators and child pornography cases. The crimes in 2012. Kolbaski was arrested and later pled guilty to possessing and distributing CP. Investigators found that he was using his personal computer to download images and videos. He was sentenced to over 12 years in federal prison. The case was particularly shocking to his colleagues, who described him as a superstar investigator.
Another hero.
I bet he was.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
And the list goes on. There's more, right? That we're working with internet crimes against children. What's the next one, Em?
Yeah, 32. Richard Nielsen, another in the U.S., a computer forensics expert for the Utah Attorney General's office. He worked in the Internet Crimes Against Children ICAC unit, where his job was to examine digital evidence seized from suspected predators to build cases. The crimes: in 2016, Nielsen was arrested after a routine check of a server revealed he was storing CP on his work computer. Investigators discovered he had been using his expertise to view illegal material while simultaneously working on cases against other offenders. He was convicted and is sentenced to prison.
And the list goes on.
Yeah, 33. It's another one. So there's 4 right there.
Yeah, so 33, we have Christopher Plourd, Plourd, and he was a computer forensic analyst for the San Diego Police Department's High Technology Crimes Task Force. He assisted in investigations involving CP and online exploitation. In 2013, Plourd, how do you say that? Plourd was arrested for possession of child pornography. or shall I just say CP, was arrested for possession of CP. An investigation revealed that he had been downloading and trading images of child sexual abuse. He was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in federal prison, and his position gave him unique insight into how to acquire material without being caught, though he was eventually discovered.
Eventually.
Who knows how long it was and how much of it he had done by the time he was uncovered.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had a list of 51 examples. We jumped down to the 30s. In the middle were many others that were police officers or vigilantes with the same types of crimes. The beginning of it were just cases of allegations, right? But these, the list from where we started after Shady Grady and down, um, after Shady Grady, what we've reported since then, all of these are actual convictions. These people were actually caught, they were charged, they were sentenced, convicted, and all of that.
Yeah, here's another one, number 37, Matthew R. Zimmerman, a detective with the Howard County Police Department in Maryland and a member of the Maryland ICAC Task Force. He was specifically assigned to investigate online child exploitation. His crimes in 2012, Zimmerman was arrested and charged with possession of CP, and the investigation revealed he had used his personal computer to access and store numerous images of CP and CSA. He was convicted and sentenced to 30 years.
And the next one, number 38, is Michael Fiola. He was a detective with the Fall River Police Department in Massachusetts, and he was a member of the Southeastern Massachusetts ICAC Task Force. He was responsible for investigating computer crimes against children, and in 2011, Fiola was arrested and charged with possession of CP. There had been a tip from a technology company that led investigators to his online activity. He was later convicted and sentenced to federal prison. His conviction was particularly damaging to ongoing cases he had worked on, and his credibility was now destroyed. Imagine that.
Yeah.
An unethical police officer working on an ICAC task force, and his credibility was destroyed. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I kind of see them all the kind of that way because I don't really understand why somebody would be passionate in joining that task force. Usually, when I see the people of that task force, it's like officers who are essentially on the Brady list.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see them having a lot of integrity because they're very openly acting in entrapment. By going to adult websites, verifying to the adult website admin that they are indeed adults, and then posting pictures of adults, and then confusing the men into believing that they're engaging in some type of foreplay or role play, whatever it is, and then calling themselves heroes after. It's one of the greatest forms of projection.
Yeah. So it's no surprise that some of them have been caught doing worse than just what we have known about, right?
Oh, so
Like,
we spoke to what were those gentlemen with that we spoke to the other morning?
oh,
What's their YouTube?
they were from an organization in Europe. I believe it's called Facts, Not Fear. I'll have to look
That's
it
Not
up.
Fear. That's right. Yeah. And when they started talking, it's like they were quoting A, and we had to say, "Now wait a minute. Yeah, A
Mm-hmm.
has said this all along."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
It was. It was.
they said where we live, these crimes that you guys talk about, that's not even a crime here. Like over here, they make fun of the US for the draconian laws and how they treat people. Like even those who have committed an actual sexual offense. Like once they've served their time, the way they continue to be treated. They said it's well known in Europe that the US, the sex offender registry, has nothing to do with safety, with public safety. It's about money. That's all they care about.
Yeah, I found it extremely interesting that he started saying, we believe that the police officers that get involved in these are really doing these things themselves.
Yeah. Yes, they said, we believe, why would they be on these adult sexual websites? I said, exactly, that is what I have been saying. They are using this as an excuse so that they can go on these adult sexual websites and engage in these sexual interactions without feeling judged for it, right? Because then they can just say we're looking for predators and we're protecting children, but they're on there, seeking these sexual interactions, and I'm sure they're enjoying them because,
Enjoying acting them out and doing their little role play.
yeah, yeah, playing out their own fantasies about all this. Because
Yep.
why else would anybody be going on adult sexual websites supposedly to protect children when there's no evidence that there are children in these places, much less any who are identifying themselves to random strangers, much less any who are, um, aggressively seeking these sexual encounters like these decoys from these sting operations do. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
so pilling through here on this list, 39, another former ICAC task force member, 40, another police officer out of Kentucky and a member of ICAC task force, Douglas Schaus. The list goes on and on. Brian McVeigh, 41, U.S., police officer in Pennsylvania and member of the state's ICAC task force. These are all the convicted in this part of the list. 42, Eric C. John, Oklahoma, ICAC task force. One of the reasons that A started investigating all of this and coming up with the names is because, we get criticized, we get trolls that say, oh, yeah, prove it, prove what you're saying. So high five, A. You've got a lot of very deep proof here.
we have the list. And if I can create a link to provide this list, because like I said, it's a list of 51, um, I will put it out there, or I'll just copy and paste, bits, bits at a time, and put it out there so that you can
Yeah.
see and you can look this up yourselves. But I mean, it goes on. So you did Eric Johnson, number 42, 43 is William C. How do you say that last name? Sprague. And he
Yeah, I
was a
think so.
police officer in Vermont, also a member of the ICAC task force, where he was supposed to be, protecting children from child exploitation. And he was also arrested. Um, there was a search of his electronic devices. It revealed he had multiple images, CP images. And then the next one is one that was in Maine, also another member of the ICAC task force, Gregory A. Marquise. And he was also arrested, sex crime against children. And the list goes on and on. We have on the list, these are people in the US and the UK. I think there was a couple from Canada and maybe one in the Netherlands, one in Scotland. But this is just what we have found so far. I'm sure there are many more, and there were many more that just have accusations against them that have not actually been charged or convicted.
Right. Well, these last several on her list, they have convictions.
Yes, the majority of the ones on this list, they have convictions. Like I said, the beginning of the list, those are the ones where it's more just accusations or protectors of those, who have done these things. But I guess maybe so maybe that's just the first 5 or 6, and then after that, these are, yeah, people who have been convicted.
Well, so number 51, Christopher Patton, was part of a vigilante group in Florida called Protecting Our Innocence, which conducted sting operations on suspected child predators. The crimes. In 2017, Patton was arrested and charged with lewd, and there's that word again, lascivious, battery of a child, and possession of CP.
Yeah, and
Charged.
you'll find on the list there are several others that were vigilantes from these sting operations. And same thing, they were charged with an actual sexual crime against minors. Some of them multiple counts, right? There was number 20, John Todaro, vice president of the Buffalo chapter of Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, BACA, a group that publicly positions itself as protecting abused children. He was arrested on charges of promoting and possessing CP. So there's another one. Like I said, it's a long list of it. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I will find a way to put this out for people who want to see the entire list. And anybody who has any others that we can add to our list, please provide that information to us. You can post it as a comment, or you can email us at stingingback@gmail.com.
The real danger in these cases is kind of like what we're seeing with ICE, where we're seeing civil rights be violated over and over and over again, and it's setting a precedent, it's setting a standard in our case law. And when we allow the government or law enforcement to engage in these behaviors, whether it's entrapment, whether they're using a role play setting to get guys to get probable cause to get them charged, it's all police misconduct. It's all the same. It's all the same thing. And when we continuously allow this and we refuse to speak on it, is where the government continues to progress in this tyrannical control. And if we don't nip it now, if we don't try to force case law, if we don't get Supreme Court case law to come down and call a spade, then what's going to happen is one day you might find yourself in a sting, or you might find yourself in some type of crime where the police are using probable cause that came from entrapment or came from other type of police misconduct. So this is why stuff like this is really important. You know, it's very unpopular to talk about, but end of the day, I mean, the pursuit of justice and the pursuit of a free country is what this is about.
Well put, Dee.
That's right. And that is why we continue to speak out. And we want to encourage others to speak out as well. So you've just heard a list that's difficult to absorb.
Not because it's sensational, but because it forces us to ask hard questions about trust, oversight, and accountability.
Every name we discussed represents a failure somewhere in the system, a failure to supervise, a failure to intervene, a failure to listen when concerns are raised, or a failure to look closely enough in the first place.
Protecting children requires more than good intentions and strong slogans. It requires transparency, real safeguards, and a willingness to scrutinize those who hold power, not shield them.
Accountability is not an attack on child protection. It is a requirement of it.
If we want real justice, we can't just pretend these cases don't exist. We can't dismiss them as rare exceptions, and we can't silence questions just because they're uncomfortable.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying present through difficult material.
We'll continue to ask the questions others won't.
And we'll continue to sting back.